Hey friends, this is Evan Anderson with Oseberg, and today we're going to be looking at two workflows. We're going to be looking at buying overriding royalty interest and mineral interest in the Delaware Basin using two sources of data. Number one, compulsory poolings, and number two, non-standard proration units. We're going to start in an application that we call Atla, which is a desktop application where we're going to come to the map view and draw an AOI over Lea and Eddie County. From here, we're going to select a time frame. Let's just go with 5 years. And we're going to select 5 years of poolings and non-standard proration units, which we have under our spacing query here. And just for good measure, we're also going to look at the permit activity. And these data sets, once they're loaded, we're going to clean them up a little bit. So this is the compulsory pooling data set where we've extracted out all the elements under the compulsory pooling. We could filter this data set by formation or unit size if we wanted to. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of the dismissed. And I'm going to scroll over here where we do a record count of number of respondents. And I'm going to do is greater than 1. And I'm going to map those. And those are all of our compulsory poolings over a 5-year period covering this AOI. And you can see how it's filed over time. It's color-coded by applicant and mapped to the track description of the document. We're also going to come over here in these non-standard proration units, and we're going to do something similar to what we just did. We're going to go here under number of respondents. We're going to say is greater than 1. And under status, we're going to get rid of dismissed. And we're going to map these results. And so we can see here's our non-standard proration units. And we can see here's our poolings. And then we're going to look at our permit data. And under the approval here, we're going to keep submitted. We're going to get rid of rejected and keep pending approved, pending, and approved. And we're going to map those permits. And we can see from the map here very shortly kind of where the activity is and where it's trending. So this is 5 years of permit activity covering Lea and Eddie County. If I move my time bar, I can see how this stuff is evolving over time. And now we're going to kind of get into the data. So, when I look at the pooling records here, we have, 3,444 compulsory pooling records after we filtered the data. When I look at the spacings, we have 1,000 total spacings here under our non-standard proration units. And that volume is a little large for exporting data, but we're going to go ahead and try it here. So the first thing I'm going to do is under these spacings, I'm going to export to Excel, and I'm going to include respondents. And we're going to name this spacing or non-standard proration units. We're going to call it non-standard 1. And let's look at this data real quick. So this file has now been downloaded to my computer. And we see all the non-standard proration units here being listed just like in the database. But on the second tab are the names of the parties that come up. And so we're going to expand where we see here the names of the folks, and we have addresses. And you can see here under comments where it is listed. So first of all, we have 7,000 respondents in this data set total without any filters. If we come into this data set, we can limit this to royalty interest, overriding royalty interest, and mineral interest. From there, we went from 7,000 names to 3,000 names. We can then come in here and look at the addresses, and we see, addresses like Jacqueline Jones in Medford, Oregon. We see some addresses in New Mexico, in Columbus, Ohio. We see Ohio State University. We see New York, New York. We see, let's see here. I think you get the point. And we can start looking for names and addresses that are out of state. So let's pick one. Here at South Lake. Let's stay away from that. Let's go to this one in Littleton, Colorado. David L. Bradshaw. So here's a lucky name. We're going to grab this name, and we're going to come to another product called Full Text Search. And we're going to select New Mexico. We're just going to type in David L. Bradshaw into the database. And what this is doing is searching every OCD filing in every courthouse record where the name David L. Bradshaw comes up. And as you can see, we have 71 total results for David L. Bradshaw. So this gives us a quick way to see where all else David L. Bradshaw is listed as a respondent. You can see here is the lease that was taken, most likely from David L. Bradshaw, where he leased to SCP Permian. You can see amendments. Let's take a look at this amendment, see what kind of amendment it is. Here, amended and restated memorandum of dedication and commitment between BC Operating and Oryx Midstream. So let's find out where Bradshaw comes up into this conversation for this document. Looks like he is listed on page 19. So we can come down here to page 19, and we can see the tracts and leases that are subject to this memorandum. We can see warranty deeds, mortgages, tax liens. Let's take a look at this tax lien. And we can see that there's a tax lien here for Christy and David L. Bradshaw. And then now we can search Christy E. Bradshaw as well. So the point of the workflow here is that, we had 9,000 respondents that when we removed the working interest, we brought that down to 3,000. And we have a combination of overriding royalty interest and mineral interest owners with names, addresses, and we can look at those addresses. If we like where these folks are located, like California, we can then come in here and search the database and find everything else that they own. Let's take a look at spacing data with a similar approach. Or sorry, not non-standard proration units is what we call spacing data in here, but compulsory poolings. So we're looking still at a large number of records, and so we're going to need to filter this down. Let's look underneath an operator. Here we alias out the operator names. Let's look under Matador. And let's export all the Matador compulsory poolings here. And we'll save that to our computer. We'll pull up Matador, and here are all the respondents under the Matador filings. This has a total number of respondents of about 7,000 names and addresses. We'll come over here to filter, and again, we'll deselect the working interest owners. From here, we are now down to 5,919 names, and it's the same process. We're in here looking at mineral interest owners and overriding royalty interest owners. It looks like we still have offsetting. There we go. So we were at 5,000. Yeah, we're still at 5,000. So now we're going to come on down here and let's take this San Francisco name. Stephen Cheney is the winner for this particular workflow. And let's see what we can learn about Stephen. So we're coming over here to New Mexico, Stephen W. Cheney, and we've got 13 results between assignments and documents where he's listed as a respondent. We have affidavits. So let's look at this affidavit, for example. And we see affidavit to title. Generally a useful thing when looking at mineral owners and trying to figure out what they own. I'm hoping there might be an exhibit here listing out everything that Mr. Cheney owns, and no such luck. But you could go over here to the OCR text and type in, percentage or override or mineral interest or royalty interest. Anything you'd want to search, you can search within the document. So again, the workflow is the same. You're selecting a time period within the map. You're selecting an AOI, an area. You're coming in here, you're cleaning up the data a little bit, getting rid of those instruments that are dismissed. Maybe you want to filter on an operator or a formation or a unit size. You're kicking that out to Excel. There are very large volumes here of names and addresses for you to work from, which you can filter down based off of states they live in or anything else. And then come in here and research those names and parties and learn what you can about them. I hope you found this useful, and we hope to hear from you. Thanks.